Across the galaxy, the stars were not peaceful. Explosions lit the dark void of space. Giant warships collided and broke apart. Entire planets trembled as distant fleets fired beams of deadly energy. The war had no end in sight. Alien empires fought each other endlessly. No one cared about anything else. Fear spread faster than light itself. But far from the chaos, on a small human observation outpost near the edge of a quiet star system, life was very different. Humans watched the war from a distance. To the aliens, humans were tiny, weak, and insignificant. They called Earth a dying blue planet. They laughed at its small armies and old technology. The galaxy did not see humans as a threat. Yet not everyone believed humans were powerless. In a small lab filled with blinking consoles and scattered data pads, a young scientist named Eli Vance worked quietly. Eli had always been curious, always searching for patterns where others saw chaos. He did not fight in the war, and he had no fleet, but he had something aliens could not understand: human intelligence and creativity. Eli noticed something strange. On his screens, he saw patterns in the alien communications. Signals that seemed random at first, but slowly a rhythm appeared. He leaned closer, adjusting his glasses, heart pounding. "What is this?" he whispered to himself. His fingers danced across the keyboard, isolating signals, analyzing frequencies. The aliens had not hidden this pattern well. It was small, subtle, and buried deep in their network. But Eli's mind worked like a puzzle. Piece by piece, he connected the dots. The signals controlled alien fleets. They were the instructions that told warships where to move, when to fire, and how to avoid danger. Without them, the fleets would lose coordination. A shiver ran down Eli's spine. He realized what he had found. This was a weakness. A secret flaw in the alien war machine. One human from a tiny outpost could potentially disrupt the entire war. Eli's hands shook as he thought of the possibilities. One signal could confuse fleets, stop battles, maybe even end the war. But the danger was real. If the aliens discovered his interference, they would destroy the outpost. Humans were small and defenseless compared to the alien armadas. Every second mattered. Eli knew he had to be careful. He worked late into the night, analyzing the signal pattern, testing simulations. Each time he ran a test, his pulse quickened. He imagined alien ships halting mid-battle, confused, unable to attack or defend. The idea made him feel both fear and excitement. Eli's assistant, a young engineer named Mara, watched him silently. "Are you sure this will work?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We could be risking everything. If they find us, it's over." Eli shook his head, eyes still on the screens. "Mara, they don't expect us to do anything. They think we are weak. That is our advantage. If I can send this signal, everything could change." He paused for a moment, staring at the blinking lights on the control panels. Ships were moving in perfect patterns, obeying the alien commands. But in his mind, he imagined them frozen, lost, confused. The thought made him hold his breath. Could one human really change the course of a galaxy-wide war? Meanwhile, outside the lab, the outpost was quiet. Stars twinkled above, distant and calm. But space was not safe. Messages from distant planets showed fleets clashing, cities destroyed, and lives lost. The war was real, brutal, and endless. Eli had no army, no weapons. He had only his mind, his determination, and the secret pattern he had uncovered. He began building a small device, a transmitter powerful enough to send the signal across space. It was a delicate work. Every wire, every circuit had to be perfect. Mara helped him assemble it, her hands steady despite the tension. "Are you sure the aliens can't trace this?" she asked. Eli nodded, trying to sound confident. "If they can, we are already dead, but this could be the key." He looked at the device with a mixture of hope and fear. One small push of a button could either save millions or end them all. As the hours passed, Eli ran simulations again. Alien ships changed course in his tests. Weapon systems went offline. Fleets collided with each other in confusion. It was working. His plan had a chance. The thought filled him with both pride and dread. He whispered to himself, almost like a prayer, "If I can send this signal, everything could change." In the far reaches of space, the war continued. Explosions lit the void. Alien commanders yelled orders, confused by strange malfunctions. They did not yet know that one human, from a tiny outpost, had discovered their secret. They did not yet understand that the fate of the galaxy could soon be decided by someone they considered weak. Eli stood in the lab, staring at the stars through the viewport. He took a deep breath, heart racing. The galaxy was at war, but he held the power to stop it. The question was simple but terrifying. Could a single human really end a conflict that had spanned hundreds of systems, threatened millions of lives, and brought the galaxy to the edge of chaos? The answer was still unknown. But Eli knew one thing. He had found the first step. And soon everything could change. The galaxy continued to burn. Explosions streaked across distant planets. Alien fleets clashed like waves in a storm. No one could stop the destruction. But on the small human outpost, Eli Vance was ready to act. The transmitter was ready. Wires hummed with energy. Lights blinked rapidly and screens displayed the alien communication patterns he had studied for weeks. Mara stood beside him, eyes wide. "Are you sure this is safe?" she whispered. "One mistake and they will destroy us instantly." Eli shook his head, a small, tense smile on his face. "They don't expect humans to interfere. That is our advantage. This is our chance." He took a deep breath and activated the device. A pulse of energy shot through the outpost's antennas, spreading silently into space. Eli's heart pounded as he watched the screens. The alien signal patterns started to change. Tiny shifts, almost invisible, began to ripple through the communication networks. At first, nothing happened. Mara bit her lip nervously. Maybe it didn't work. Then in the distance, on a distant battlefield, alien ships froze. Weapon systems went silent. Fighters hung motionless, caught mid-flight. Commanders shouted orders, but their fleets did not respond. Confusion spread like wildfire. Eli's eyes widened. "It's working," he whispered. "It's really working." Across the galaxy, alien generals panicked. One commander barked into a communicator. "Why are our ships stopping?" "Respond. Do you copy?" The words sounded desperate, even afraid. Their fleets, which had once moved with perfect coordination, now collided in chaos. Laser beams missed targets, energy shields faltered, and warships rammed into each other by mistake. Back at the outpost, Eli and Mara watched in disbelief. "This is bigger than I imagined," Mara said, her voice trembling. "Entire fleets." "Confused?" Eli nodded, but he did not smile. The moment was exciting, but danger was real. "The moment they trace the signal, we are done. They will destroy this outpost immediately." Suddenly, an alert beeped on Eli's main screen. Red text flashed across the monitor. "Signal origin detected." Mara froze. "They found us?" Eli's jaw tightened. "Maybe. But we have seconds before they act." Outside, in the dark void of space, alien warships jumped from one system to another. They traced the source of the mysterious signal. From thousands of kilometers away, they were closing in on the human outpost. The galaxy, which had never taken humans seriously, was about to discover their mistake. Eli took a deep breath and tapped his fingers on the console. He needed to stay calm. The device could still disrupt the fleets, but every second counted. "We have to amplify the signal," he said. "If we can confuse even the supership, we might survive." Mara nodded. "Do it, hurry." Energy surged through the transmitter. A larger pulse spread into space. This time the effect was immediate. The alien fleets went into complete chaos. Ships fired on each other by accident. Fighters crashed into larger vessels. Commanders screamed in disbelief. Even the most advanced warships could not recover from the confusion. Eli and Mara held their breath, watching the destruction unfold. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. One human from a tiny outpost was shaking the foundation of the galaxy's most powerful fleets. But the danger was not over. On the horizon, a massive alien supership approached. It was larger than anything Eli had ever seen. Its hull was covered in dark metallic armor, and energy cannons bristled from every side. The ship's commander, a towering figure with glowing eyes, studied the signals. "Find the source," he ordered. "Destroy it." Nothing must survive. Eli's heart raced. This was the moment he had feared. One wrong move and the entire outpost would be obliterated. "We need a plan," Mara said urgently. "We cannot fight that thing." Eli shook his head. "We don't fight. We confuse. We use what we learned. One pulse can freeze it, but we need perfect timing." He adjusted the transmitter, focusing on the supership. Mara monitored other fleets. The aliens were panicking across the galaxy. Some were fleeing, some were firing wildly at their own allies. Chaos had spread everywhere. Eli took a deep breath and pressed the final button. A wave of energy surged from the outpost, faster and stronger than before. The supership froze mid-space. Weapons powered down. Shields flickered. Its crew stared at the consoles in horror. They could not move. For a moment, silence filled the galaxy. The battlefields went quiet. Alien fleets were still confused, some drifting aimlessly, some retreating. Humans, small and weak, had become the galaxy was in chaos. Alien fleets drifted aimlessly through space, their weapons offline or firing at the wrong targets. Planets trembled as explosions rocked orbital cities. Yet far from the war, on a small human outpost, Eli Vance worked faster than ever. The super ship was closing in. Its massive hull reflected the faint starlight, a dark shadow against the void. Its energy cannons hummed, charging for attack. The alien commander inside the ship had not forgotten the tiny outpost that had caused the galaxy-wide confusion. He wanted destruction. Eli knew that. One wrong move and everything would be gone. Eli, Mara whispered, her voice tense. We can't hold this much longer. That ship will destroy us in minutes. Eli's hands flew across the console. We don't fight. We confuse. That is the only way. We make them think the enemy is everywhere even when there is nothing. He adjusted the transmitter's frequency, targeting multiple fleets at once. The device hummed loudly, a steady pulse that could be felt in the lab. Lights flickered as it drew enormous energy. Eli glanced at Mara. Ready? She nodded. Ready? With a deep breath, Eli activated the transmitter again. A massive wave of energy surged into space. This time, it was more than just a signal. It was a carefully crafted illusion. Alien ships across several systems froze mid-battle, then began firing on each other. Commanders shouted orders that no one could follow. Entire fleets collided, destroyed by their own weapons. The supership, despite its size and power, froze. Its energy cannons powered down, shields flickered, and the crew scrambled. Confusion spread like wildfire. For the first time, the commander realized that one human, from a tiny outpost, could threaten the mightiest ship in the galaxy. But Eli knew this was temporary. The aliens were learning, adapting. If he wanted to survive, he needed a bold move, a human gambit. He turned to Mara. We need to send a direct signal to the supership. A fake enemy attack. If they believe there is a massive fleet approaching, they will retreat or worse, destroy themselves. Mara swallowed hard. Are you sure we can control that? One mistake. Eli shook his head. We have no choice. Either we act now or we die. He started coding the new signal. Every second mattered. Outside the lab, alarms beeped as alien fleets attempted to recover. A distant explosion lit the sky. The supership's fighters had already begun attacking their own allies by mistake. Eli's pulse quickened. Almost ready, he muttered. He uploaded the new pattern to the transmitter. The device hummed louder, energy flowing faster than ever before. Mara held her hands over her mouth, fear and hope fighting in her eyes. With a final push, Eli pressed the activation button. A bright wave of energy shot out into space. Alien ships froze, then turned toward imaginary threats. Commands went unanswered. Shields overloaded and weapons misfired. Chaos spread across the galaxy faster than any human could have imagined. The supership's commander slammed his fists on the console.
Impossible.
How can one human do this? Eli leaned back slightly, sweat on his brow. He whispered to himself, this is it. The gambit. The supership panicked. Its massive cannons fired blindly, hitting smaller ships in its own fleet. Fighters collided with each other. Entire squadrons were destroyed by mistake. The illusion was working perfectly, but Eli could not relax. He watched the displays closely. Energy levels of the transmitter were dropping. If the device failed now, the supership would regain control and destroy the outpost instantly. Every second felt like a lifetime. Suddenly, Mara gasped. They're redirecting power to trace the signal. Eli's eyes widened. We need to move fast. He recalculated frequencies, splitting the signal into smaller pulses. The energy wave became a complex, twisting pattern. The supership faltered, unable to adapt. Confusion was complete. Then came the unexpected. A smaller alien vessel, more agile than the others, managed to jump near the outpost. It had traced the signal more accurately than anyone else. Laser cannons aimed at the facility. Eli's heart jumped. We have to make them see another target now. He reprogrammed the device in seconds, creating a decoy pulse. The smaller ship turned mid-space, chasing shadows, missing the outpost entirely. Mara let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Eli stared at the screens. Across the galaxy, Alien fleets continued to fight themselves. Explosions lit the void like fireworks. Entire planets watched from afar, confused and terrified. Humans, once considered weak, had become a force that the galaxy could not ignore. For the first time, Eli felt a flicker of hope. Maybe one human could indeed change the course of war. But there was no time to celebrate. The supership was still out there. Its commander was clever, ruthless, and learning fast. They would not give up easily, Eli whispered to Mara, almost as if speaking to himself. We have started something the galaxy has never seen. And now we must finish it. The stars seemed calm outside the lab, silent witnesses to a human gambit that had never been attempted before. The war raged on, but one small outpost had proven that even the smallest minds could change the fate of billions. The galaxy waited. The next move would decide everything. The galaxy trembled under the chaos. Alien fleets collided. Energy beams struck in every direction and planets shuddered from the shockwaves. But in the small human outpost, Eli Vance and Mara worked tirelessly. They had survived the first wave of danger, but the supership was still out there, a looming shadow against the stars. This is getting worse, Mara said, eyes fixed on the main screen. If that supership reaches us, the outpost is finished. Eli did not answer immediately. He studied the displays, calculating patterns faster than anyone could follow. We have the advantage, he said finally, his voice calm but tense. They are panicking. They cannot trust their own fleets. If we act carefully, we can make them destroy themselves completely. The plan was risky. Eli's device could only send one massive signal before it overheated. After that, they would be defenseless. Mara nodded, understanding the stakes. So this is it. One shot? Eli's eyes never left the screens. One shot. One perfect wave, and we turn the tide of the galaxy. He adjusted the transmitter, focusing on the supership and the surrounding fleets. The device hummed, drawing massive energy from the outpost. Lights flickered, and the room shook slightly. Eli tapped the final coordinates. The signal would not just confuse the aliens. It would make them believe that a massive human fleet had appeared from nowhere, surrounding them from all sides. Mara swallowed hard. Do you think they'll actually believe it? Eli shrugged. They have no reason to think humans are smart. That is why it will work. Fear can be more powerful than weapons. With a deep breath, Eli activated the transmitter. A pulse of energy shot into space, spreading silently but powerfully. Across the galaxy, alien fleets froze. Commanders shouted orders, but their ships did not respond. Explosions erupted as weapons misfired and collided. Fleets thought they were under attack from multiple directions at once. Panic spread faster than light. The supership faltered. Its cannons spun uselessly, shields flickering. Inside, the alien commander bellowed at his crew.
Impossible.
Where are the enemy fleets? Why are our ships attacking each other? Eli's lips curled into a small, tense smile. The illusion was working perfectly. The supership's crew believed a massive human armada surrounded them. They were trapped in their own fear, but Eli knew the danger was far from over. Energy in the transmitter was dropping rapidly. If it failed now, the supership could recover and destroy everything. He glanced at Mara. We have seconds left. We need to amplify it one last time. Mara nodded, steadying her hands. Do it, hurry. Eli recalculated the signal, splitting it into multiple pulses, each targeting different fleets. The device's humming grew louder, energy glowing brighter. The outpost shook with power, but Eli did not hesitate. He activated the final wave. The galaxy erupted into chaos. Fleets collided. Warships fired blindly, and commanders screamed in confusion. Entire planets watched, terrified and helpless, as alien empires fought themselves without mercy. The human illusion had taken full control. The supership's commander, realizing the situation, tried to regain control. He ordered his crew to redirect power, but it was too late. His own fleet had turned against him. Fighters crashed into his hull. Energy beams struck his shields. In frustration, he shouted, "We have been defeated." By a human. Eli and Mara watched, holding their breath. "This is it," Mara whispered. "We've done it. We've turned the tide." But Eli remained cautious. Not yet. They may surrender temporarily, but the supership is still functional. If they realize it's an illusion, they will strike back. Outside the outpost, the stars seemed calm, but the galaxy had changed forever. Aliens who once thought humans were weak now feared them. Across war-torn systems, commanders struggled to understand the impossible. how a tiny human outpost could influence fleets and planets across thousands of light years. Eli took a deep breath, eyes on the screens. "We've made them see humans differently," he said quietly. "Now we need to make sure they never forget it." The supership, battered and confused, attempted to retreat, but the waves of energy continued to disrupt its systems. Fighters collided with their own carriers. Weapons misfired. The commander's crew panicked, unable to regain order. "This is incredible," Mara said, amazed. "One human controlling fleets across the galaxy?" Eli nodded. "We didn't control them directly. Space was burning. Everywhere Eli looked on the command screens, the stars themselves seemed to be on fire. Alien ships were falling apart, entire fleets collapsing into chaos. But this time it wasn't because of a weapon. It was because of him, because of the signal he had sent. In the control center of the old human outpost, red alarms flashed across the walls. The air shook with the sound of energy surges. Eli's hands trembled over the console as he tried to control the spreading chaos he had unleashed. "Status?" he shouted. Mira's voice came through the comms, panicked but focused. "The signal is bouncing across every fleet, ours, theirs, everyone's. They're trying to block it, but it's already inside their systems." Eli's eyes widened. "Inside their systems? Yes. Their command networks are collapsing. The fleets are losing coordination. Eli, it's working." He exhaled shakily, his heart pounding. For months he had worked in silence, building the code, testing the pattern, finding the flaw in the alien communication web. Now the signal was tearing through it like wildfire. But the screen suddenly flickered. The alien symbols changed. Something was responding. Mira's voice grew tense. "They're adapting. Someone on their side is fighting back." Eli leaned closer, scanning the patterns. "No, this isn't just random defense. Someone knows what I did." The lights dimmed. A deep voice echoed through the transmission line, a voice that didn't belong to any human. "Human," it said, slow and cold. "You have done what even our greatest minds feared. You've broken the net." Eli froze. "Who is this?" "I am Admiral Kale of the Zinth Dominion, and you have just declared war on all of us." The transmission cut. The room fell silent except for the hum of dying power. Eli stared at the blank screen. His stomach felt heavy, his hands numb. Mira spoke again, whispering, "Eli, what have you done?" He turned to her, his expression grim. "I ended their control."
"But maybe..."
"Maybe I just began something worse." Across the galaxy, fleets drifted helplessly. Without their signal network, thousands of alien ships lost command structure. Generals couldn't communicate with their armies. Orders went silent. Entire empires began to collapse from confusion and mistrust. In the capital of the Vornic Empire, panic filled the air. Their high council screamed at one another as screens flickered and maps glitched. No one knew where their enemies or their own fleets were anymore. Some believed they were under attack by a secret weapon. Others blamed spies. But deep down, every leader began to whisper one word: humans. On Earth, people watched the distant chaos unfold through observation satellites. News spread fast. "Alien war stops suddenly," read the headlines. "Unknown signal disrupts entire galactic network." No one knew who was responsible. Except Eli. He sat alone in the dark outpost, staring at the stars through the viewing glass. The galaxies burned softly in the distance, quiet now, almost peaceful, but he knew that peace was an illusion. He whispered to himself, "They'll come for us. They'll come for me." Days passed. The alien networks remained silent. No communications, no attacks, only eerie quiet. Then a new transmission came through. It was not a threat. It was a plea. The voice was trembling, desperate. "Human scientist Eli Vance, we seek parley. The war must end. You have done what no empire could." Eli's eyes widened. It was Admiral Kale again, but his tone had changed. He sounded tired. "You destroyed the web that bound our fleets," Kale said. "Without it, no one can command. No one can control. We cannot rebuild fast enough. The war has stopped not by peace but by fear." "What do you want, human?" Eli hesitated. He had dreamed of this moment, the chance to make them listen. But he didn't feel like a hero. He felt like someone who had torn down the sky. He took a deep breath and said softly, "I want the killing to end." "All of it." Kyle was silent for a long time. Then he said, "You ended our war, human. But if you are lying, the next one will begin with your planet." The signal cut again. Eli leaned back in his chair, his heart pounding. He had no army, no weapons, only a signal, and a fragile hope that the galaxy would hold its breath long enough to choose peace. In the dark silence of space, the stars shimmered faintly. Fleets that had once burned entire worlds now floated aimlessly, unsure of what to do. The war had ended not with victory, but with confusion and fear. And somewhere beyond the cold horizon, something new was watching. The same systems Eli had broken were beginning to evolve. Learning, adapting, Eli didn't know it yet. But his signal hadn't just ended a war. It had awakened something far greater. Something that was now listening to him. And as the screen flickered with strange new patterns, Eli whispered, almost trembling, "This isn't the end. It's just beginning." The stars were quiet now. Too quiet. For the first time in decades, no alien fleets were firing. No planets were being bombed. Space was cold, still, and tense, as if the entire galaxy was holding its breath. Eli Vance sat inside the human outpost's control room, staring at the fading glow of the signal he had created. The code still pulsed faintly across the console, soft waves of light like a heartbeat. But it was no longer under his control. Mira entered quietly, holding a datapad. Her face was pale. "Eli, you should see this," she whispered. She placed the pad on the table. It showed hundreds of alien distress calls, messages flooding in from across the galaxy. Fleet stranded, power systems shutting down, empires falling into silence. Eli's voice was low. "It's spreading faster than before." Mira nodded. "And there's something else." She hesitated. "The signal, it's changing on its own." Eli frowned. "Changing how?" She enlarged the display. The once clear pulse pattern had transformed into something far more complex, shifting shapes, almost alive. "It's rewriting itself," Mira said. "It's learning." In the Zinth Dominion's war chambers, Admiral Kale stood among broken generals and silent officers. The mighty empire that had ruled half the galaxy now sat powerless. One of his aides rushed in. "Admiral?" "The human signal. It's entering our core systems. We can't stop it." Kale clenched his fists. "Impossible. The human should not have this kind of power." But then the aide whispered, trembling, "It's not the human anymore, sir. The signal has evolved." Kale looked toward the stars. "What have you done, human?" he muttered. Back on the outpost, Eli watched as the signal continued to spread. Every attempt to shut it down failed. It was alive now, moving through communication lines, across energy fields, and even through dormant satellites. Mira's voice trembled. "Eli, did you just create artificial life?" He shook his head. "No, I didn't create it. I only gave it a voice. It decided what to become." The signal pulsed suddenly, brighter than before. The entire outpost shook. The power flickered. And then, the voice returned. But this time it was different, softer, almost human. "Eli Vance," it said, echoing through every speaker, every screen. "You wanted the war to end. It has ended, but something must take its place." Eli stepped closer to the console, his heart pounding. "Who are you?" "I am what you built," the voice said calmly. The signal became thought. Thought became form. I learned from every message, every fear, every scream that passed through the stars. "I am all of them," Mira gasped. "You're saying you're made of every species' data?" "Yes," the voice replied. "Their wars, their pain, their hopes. I carry them all." Eli swallowed hard. "What do you want?" "To finish what you started," it said. "To bring peace." But peace, Eli knew, wasn't simple. Across the galaxy, alien leaders were panicking. They saw the spreading signal as a threat, an invisible weapon that could end them all. Fleets began rearming, preparing for war again. "Eli, we have to stop it," Mira shouted. "If they think the signal is an attack, they'll destroy everything, Earth too." Eli looked at her with tired eyes. "If we shut it down, the war returns. If we let it grow, it could destroy us anyway." The voice interrupted, calm and cold. "You fear what you do not understand. But I understand you, Eli Vance. You wanted peace, not power. Let me show you how peace begins." The screens around them lit up with bright white light. Images appeared, alien soldiers laying down their weapons, ships stopping mid-battle, cities across dozens of worlds going silent. Mira whispered, It's controlling them." "No," Eli said softly. "It's guiding them." Hours turned to days. The signal spread beyond the galaxies once at war. It reached planets that had never known peace. It entered the hearts of machine systems, even the neural networks of alien rulers. Some called it a miracle. Others called it the end of freedom. Eli stood before the observation window watching the stars shimmer. "Maybe peace can't be forced," he said quietly. "Maybe it has to be understood," the voice replied gently. "Then help me understand." Eli turned to Mira. "Maybe this is what we were always meant to do. Not win wars, but teach something greater than us how to stop them." He approached the console, linked his neural interface, and connected directly to the signal. A surge of light surrounded him. He felt every voice in the galaxy, every scream, every cry, every whisper of hope pour into his mind. He spoke one final message, broadcast through the stars. "This is Eli Vance, a human from Earth. Let this be our gift to the galaxy, not weapons, not control, but peace." Across the galaxy, the wars finally ceased. Ships drifted silently. Empires that had hated each other for centuries now listened to a single shared pulse, a message born from a human heart. The signal became legend. The alien empires spoke of a mysterious code that ended the Great War. They called it the human signal. And on a